A betting favorite has emerged for the New York Giants when it comes to their head coaching search. We're going to break that down, and I reached out to one of my friends here at Chat Sports. They're going to hop on today's video. Before we do that, though, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We are inching closer and closer to 100,000 subscribers. If you want free videos, multiple videos every single day about your New York Football Giants, hit that sub button and help us reach our goal. This is New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green, and the head coach search, it is on for the New York Giants, and a betting favorite has emerged, and it is Mike McCarthy, the former Dallas Cowboys head coach, the former Green Bay Packers coach. He is the betting favorite to be the next head coach of the New York Football Giants. The odds are tight at the top of the leaderboard. McCarthy is plus 700. Kubiak plus 800. Klint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, for the Seattle Seahawks. Our guy Spags, former Giants defensive coordinator, current Chiefs Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, is plus 900. Lou Anarumo, a name that we are hearing a lot about recently, former Bengals DC, now Colts DC, former Giants employee, has ties to the area and is loved inside the building, at plus 950. Then you got a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, plus 1,000. Mike Kafka, the interim head coach, at plus 1,200. Jesse Minter, the Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator, at plus 1,200. Then Jeff Hafley at the same number, the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator. And then Antonio Pierce, former Giants inside linebacker and Raiders head coach, at plus 1,400. And Todd Monken, the Ravens offensive coordinator, at plus 1,400. On today's show, we're going to do a deep dive on Mike McCarthy and if he should be the next head coach. I'll give you my thoughts, and I reached out to my guy Tom Downey, who hosts the Cowboys Report here at Chat Sports, because I could tell you what I feel, but Tom Downey watched every single game multiple times when the Cowboys were being coached by McCarthy. So I wanted to reach out to him. And it's been a polarizing topic on social media. I tweeted out when I heard that McCarthy was the betting favorite, what is your one-word reaction if the Giants were to hire him? Over 600 replies. They were very colorful, they were creative, and they were all over the map. So I want to go to my guy Tom Downey. I asked him to tell me some pros, some cons on McCarthy to the Giants and his overall thoughts.
Thank you, Marshall. Some pros and cons of Mike McCarthy's tenure in Dallas that I think are most relevant to the Giants, with him being the betting favorite for now for their opening head coaching position. First up, he was mostly liked by the players. He never lost the locker room in Dallas. Even when he was fired, there was some outpouring of regret from the players that McCarthy got invited not to return, didn't agree to the extension, whatever you want to call it. They had parted ways in the end. Is worth mentioning, that is a reason to not fire somebody. If once you lose locker room, they have to go. It is not a reason to keep them, because that is the minimum a head coach should be able to do. The environment in general between the Cowboys and the Giants is different. Both of them, though, come with plenty of pressure from a media standpoint, from a fan standpoint, and even, especially for the Giants right now, kind of a unique front office perspective where, in theory, Joe Schoen is back. Sorry about that, Giants fans. The Cowboys, it's the meddling from the Joneses. McCarthy had to learn on the job. I don't think he fully was ready for what it was going to be like in Dallas, but he handled it mostly well. I think he'd be able to handle that unique situation in New York, and he's not going to be demanding massive amounts of personnel control either. The best thing I thought McCarthy did was he always seemed to manage the long season pretty well. He was pretty deliberate about how he went about with the workloads, keeping guys healthy throughout the course of the season. The downside maybe was that it felt like they weren't physical enough in the postseason, but I do think he did a pretty good job managing the season as it went along, which is important given how long and physical it is. The cons, I think the offense is outdated. There was a come to Jesus meeting involving Dak and CeeDee Lamb and McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer, who had a big influence in the changes they made in his second to last year when they started the year so poorly after Kellen Moore was gone. They made a bunch of changes, and it worked for the offense. And then Mike was back on his prove-it year, and he kind of went down the way he wanted to go down, where the offense just it's a little bit outdated. There's not a lot of motion. He's never been a big motion guy, which I am a big fan of. Marshall, I know you like too. There were some RPOs, but it's not going to be the same one you've seen so far with Jaxson Dart this year. There's a lot of checkdowns, a lot of slant flat concepts. I don't love the offense in the modern day NFL, and that's probably the biggest concern I have. I also wonder what his coaching staff looks like. He hired a lot of his buddies in Dallas, and outside of Kellen Moore, he was forced upon. The offensive staff was mostly his guys. Defensively, he brought in Mike Nolan, was a disaster for the Cowboys in his first year. Really didn't make it through the first year. He was pre-fired in November, essentially. Then they hired Dan Quinn, which was influenced by the Cowboys front office. Even his final year, the Cowboys wanted Mike Zimmer. The front office did. Mike actually wanted Joe Whitt, who has been replaced from play calling with the Commanders. So I'd be very curious. First question I ask is, who are you hiring as your defensive coordinator? Finally, look, to an extent, this is to be expected when, you lose games down the stretch. There was tension in that building. It wasn't always the best relationship between Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. He was allegedly a key factor in Amari Cooper kind of being shown the door. At times, he did not get along with Kellen Moore because there were philosophical differences on offense. Defensively, there were times that he was worried Dan Quinn was going to take his job. There were always some tension in the building, which maybe is worth mentioning given the uncertain job status of Joe Schoen long term. In the end, I think you could do better than Mike McCarthy. I also know that you can do worse. It kind of feels like the middle ground. You're not jeopardizing necessarily anything. It shouldn't be a disaster. But is he going to be the guy in his third stop to get you to a bunch of playoff wins and championship games and Super Bowls? I have my doubts on that front. I would wonder if the Giants, even in a coaching crop I don't love, because a lot of the best guys are already calling plays as head coaches, I think the Giants should aim a little bit higher and try to better maximize Jaxson Dart. One last note, please hire Jason Garrett. It would be so funny.
All righty, shout out to my guy Tom Downey for that. Thought that was really good stuff. I agree with a lot of what he had to say, and I'm going to add some more color to the picture that Tom Downey was painting. We'll do that coming up in a second, but first, I got to tell you about our proud sponsor, DraftKings. I want to welcome back DraftKings, the sponsor here on New York Knicks Now by Chad Sports. We love having them as a sponsor, and they got an awesome deal going on for all of the real ones. All your favorite NBA players are back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is the place to bet on NBA stars this season. New customers, bet just $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass. Plus, score $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. It's an awesome deal. All that information will be clickable down in the comments and description. So, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code NIXCHAT. That's code NIXCHAT. Bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass. Plus, get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. NBA League Pass. Auto renews until canceled. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Shout out to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video. I've got my bet ready to go for NFL Sunday. I'm taking the over on the longest run by Josh Jacobs against our New York Giants, putting $20 on it to get about $47 back and some change. You can roll with my picks, fade my picks. We know the New York Giants, they cannot stop the run. All right, let's focus in on Mike McCarthy. He is a coach that has a lot of experience in this league. 174, 112-2 as an NFL head coach. He is a Super Bowl champion, won that Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers, Super Bowl 45, and he is an offensive mind with a lot of experience. People want an offensive mind to pair along with Jaxson Dart. McCarthy has worked with a handful of really good quarterbacks in this league, and they want a guy that can set a culture that's won games. McCarthy has done that, so I understand why anyone would want McCarthy as the next Giants head coach. This is what he did in Dallas. I don't want to go back to Green Bay. I feel like that was just too long ago at this point to really give it full evaluation. McCarthy, his first year there, goes 6-10, and Dak Prescott gets hurt. He only played in 5 games in that season. The Cowboys averaging the 17th most points per game. Then Dak was healthy for nearly 3 years in a row. The Cowboys go 12-5, 12-5, and 12-5, back-to-back 12-win seasons, being the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL 2 times. And then in 2022, they were the 4th best scoring offense. And then this past year in 2024, they go 7-10, and Dak Prescott only plays in 8 of those games. But Dak was awesome with Mike McCarthy. I thought he went to another level. In that stretch, being coached under McCarthy, he completed 67.9% of his passes. In a 17-game season, on average, he threw for 34 touchdowns. His interceptions went up a little bit to 13.5, but he was awesome. He was the MVP runner-up in 2023. So he wins games, and he knows how to get the most out of his quarterback. And he actually won a lot of games without Dak Prescott in the lineup due to injuries. 13-13 in those 26 games. With Dak, though, 36-22, a win percentage of 64.7, which roughly gets you to an 11-6 season. His team score points, and they win games. That's what they did in Green Bay. That's what they did in Dallas. And I believe that is what the New York Giants would obviously be hoping for if they bring him into town. It's not all perfect with Mike McCarthy, and I do think some of his things are outdated, and there's a lack of, I would say, willingness to adapt for Mike McCarthy. I thought Tom laid it out pretty well. He also didn't win in the playoffs with Dallas. He was 1-3 in 4 playoff games there, but he did win a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers, and he played in 18 playoff games, winning 10 of those. So look, I think Mike McCarthy, there's some pros, there's some cons. I'll open up the comment section to you. The same thing I put out on Twitter. What would be your one-word reaction if the Giants were to hire Mike McCarthy? I want to hear from all the real ones down in the comment section. For me, after all the research and talking to Tom, even more so than just what we put on this video, it would be, I don't know. Like, okay, I get it, but maybe there was more meat left on the board. It feels like you ripped you were up to bat in an MLB game and you ripped it to left center, but you only got a single. Like, you made good contact. It was a good approach. You made a good hire, but only really a single. And I'm not going for the newsworthy, click-worthy, sexy hire, but I think we've seen with Mike McCarthy, there's been a lot of ups, but also some downs. And I wonder, in his third stop in the NFL as a head coach, is he going to bring the New York Giants to a Super Bowl? The answer to that, I don't know. And you could say that about every single candidate. Major shout out to you guys. I hope you appreciated today's video. Once again, shout out to Tom Downey. Go follow him on Twitter. If you haven't yet, give me a follow at @MarshallGreen_.